catches your eye.
She was a good library.
Yeah.
I want to say she did, did you?
Informally, I was just saying how hopefully we can start getting out like 7:30 at the latest.
I like your idea of the reports at the end and submitting it writing.
Yes.
The parks will have to come literally at the meeting because the meetings are too close
Right.
for their meeting to the agenda getting up.
And also, I added in your comments about the Kushner home,
Yeah.
so I noticed that, conversations kind of spiral off because we're so full of great ideas here. We just, get a little carried away sometimes, so, we have something that is well, I'll just write it down and kind of just add that in the meeting. Or if not, we can then finish the agenda. Okay, so Shelley's here now, and we have a moment. All right, we're ready to go. Is it rolling? Oh, we are? Okay, so we'll call the meeting to order. Oh my gosh, we're early today. 5:58. I will start with a roll call. We'll go that way. Jordan Tate.
Tis Browning.
Ben Lowe.
John Flood.
Tony Bollier.
Shelley Martin.
Brianna Rose.
And our special guest, the mayor. Thank you for coming.
Jason.
Jason? Okay. All right. So first, we have the review and approve of July minutes.
Can we take the mayor out of order if you'd like to? Because he's not on
Yes.
the agenda.
Yeah, I have a guest visitor was after the review and approve.
Oh, okay, never mind, I didn't see that.
Yeah, well, on the updated one, I have posted right there, I put the guest visitors after.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, we can certainly go first and have you speak, Jason, if you would like.
Oh, just stand here, agenda.
Okay, so does anyone have any other, there was the updated copy that had the minutes at the top right there, so other than that, did anyone have any edits to make to the?
I move we accept with one addition under cemetery work, a sentence be added that says bottles are collected at Rupers. Just tell them it's the Auburn Cemetery project, and they'll take your bottles.
Which Rupers, all of them?
All of them, really nice. Yep, because we're more than halfway there. As you know, we had a challenge. We need about $200, and we had a person who's already written a $100 check and hopes we're going to come up with the other.
Perfect. My name's Laurel.
My apologies for that.
But would that change under 2 parks, number 3? I move we accept as presented.
Anyone for a second?
Second.
All in favor? You okay? Okay. All right, and now with that, we can move to.
Well, hi, Jordan, first of all, thank you very much, everybody, just for the obvious feedback. And thanks for reaching out to me, Jordan, earlier as well, and Tiz as well. Just a couple of things that I want to just say. First of all, I want to just introduce myself. I'm Jason Levesque. You can reach me, jlevesque at auburnmaine.gov, or my office right over there. I'm here pretty much all the time. So feel free anytime day or night, reach out to me by email or stop at the office. With that out of the way, I want to first say thank you very much for the work that you all have been doing. And I had a personal interaction with David Griswold in the Forestry Subcommittee, right at my driveway counting trees the other day. And we spent a great 15 minutes and he gave me the full rundown of everything, and trees, size. It was actually a really enjoyable conversation. The fact that he's done 2,300 trees as a volunteer is great. He did mention this first volunteer that did, I think, another 2,400 trees before him, and I can't remember his name, and I don't know if anyone can help me with that.
It wasn't a volunteer, it was a hired.
Oh, it's hired? So David is the volunteer that's done
For this round, yes.
It's phenomenal. Okay, so yeah, really, thank you for that. And thank you for all the work you're doing. And your organization, everything you're doing is great. I'm looking forward to seeing your annual report along with the City Council. And yes, it's something that all of our committees should be doing. We're gonna, as I make my rounds, encouraging that, because that's gonna be how we open these doors for working relationships in the future between the City Council, myself, and the committees and the important work that you do. Speaking of important work, segues nicely into a request. And I know, Jordan, thanks for telling me that you've been following the Ag Zone studies. since I'm sure they started. And you probably participated in some way, shape, or form. I'd like to encourage that. I'd also like to bring you up to speed on a little of what the city council is doing. First of all, the city council has a vision. It's a vision of opportunity and a vision of security. And the vision of opportunity is to provide all of its residents with the opportunity to make a life, make a family, make their business, and really make something great. That opportunity needs to be in Auburn. And then security. Security of self, security of place, fire, police, traditional, and also financial security. And security of hopefully knowing that their taxes aren't going to skyrocket every year going forward, and an ambiguity that can really diminish security for an individual. And it's something that we're all taking quite seriously. So just trying to let you know kind of what we're thinking about and that litmus test, if you would, and what our policies are that we're debating and discussing. And that also ties into that. We have read the report. We have gotten the findings of the report from both the consultant as well as the committee, along with some recommendations of things to look at. And we all agree with the recommendations to look at, primarily the 50% income rule and the lots under 10 acres in size. Based upon conversations in council meetings, I think the consensus is to start in small steps moving forward. And the first step we want to take is kind of as a way to approach this topic, an ag zone, is to take a step forward with a mayor's ad hoc working group / committee to focus in on the 50% rule and the 10-acre rule. In other words, the 10 acres minimum to build a house. There's a lot of lots, around 132 of them, I believe, that are under 10 acres in size, and around 80 or 90 that don't have a home built on, and there is some interest to build homes on that. So it's a big, and still, even though we're biting off a very small chunk, it's still a lot of information to go over. Part of this mayor's ad hoc group that I'm formulating now, we're to require one member of the conservation committee to sit on that group. Obviously, I'm going to rely, though it's a mayoral appointment, I'm going to rely upon your group discussing amongst yourself and Jordan's recommendation who that member should be. So I know you have this as a topic further down, and which is great timing. I look forward to seeing whoever volunteers you pick to be on that committee, and I will obviously nominate that, or not nominate, I'll select that person. The time frame is looking, we don't like to do anything to time. We want to do it to standard. We want to do it right. But we do ballpark this around 60 to 90 day engagement. I do like to put some sort of bookends on an ad hoc committee, so I don't want them to run forever. And considering there's 2 issues here, albeit large issues, we should be able to accomplish this within 60 to 90 days. Post the committee coming up with recommendations for solutions, replacements, or no replacements of the 50% rule and 10-acre minimum rule. Simultaneously, that document will be presented to the Conservation Committee as well as the Planning Board for mutual consideration separately. Usually 2 meetings, and I'd love your feedback on that, Jordan, as well. Present it to you in one meeting, kind of thing, and then deliberate. If there's any additions, recommendations, or edits that you'd like to make to it, that would be included in that ordinance change and then moved up to City Council. It'll be something that will be considered. So we definitely want your feedback on this. We also want the Planning Board's feedback as well. It's a test of really, really utilizing your purview, your expertise, and your mission statement to review and make recommendations regarding conservation issues. And I value that. I want to use that experience, to make this process good. And I think all too often, sometimes we don't, as a city, use the experiences in this committee and others as well. And we'd like to change that. Okay. So I definitely, we don't have all the answers. We need to find at least the vast majority of them. And your input's going to be great throughout this process. Also set the stage, like I said before, for taking on bigger issues, i.e. the entire ag zone. And if there's anything to be done there, and if so, what does it look like? How does it work? And what's that balance between growth and conservation? And how do we have them all working hardly together? So that's it. That's all I got to say. But I'd open up if you all have any questions for me. Please ask.
Do you have a sense for how frequently the committee will be meeting?
Could you repeat the question? We can't hear it down here.
I was just asking if you had a sense of how frequently the committee would meet.
I have sense is a good word, right? Again, if we're looking at 60 to 90 days, I would anticipate us meeting at a minimum of bi-weekly, maybe weekly. The committee itself, just to give you the full overview, one member of the planning board, one member of the conservation board, commission, excuse me. One city councilor, two residents that are employed in the ag-based economy within the ag zone, five, excuse me. A landowner or a resident of the ag zone that's not actively participating in agriculture. Myself, and one resident. I'll be non-voting, so there'll be 7 voting members of this ad hoc committee. I'm drafting everything down. That way it's not even, but probably once a week, once every 2 weeks. Ideally, I would like to think that we could probably get it done in 4 or 6 weeks.
Sounds aggressive.
Yeah, it is. No, I won't say it's aggressive. It's all, that's perspective. Yeah, it's perspective. I wouldn't say it's aggressive, maybe compared to the way government historically has operated, in this area in the state. But I do think it's purposeful. And again, there's no firm deadline. If it does take longer, it takes longer, but I can only.
I was about to ask if they have an ability to like renew terms,
Of course,
basically.
of course.
You know, that.
Work to standard, not to time. Though you should, in my experience, leadership experience, you should have some bookends, like expectations. We kind of expect this, because a lot of the work and all the data has already been put together, there, so it's easily digestible, which is great. So the data, knowledge, and the wisdom, we've got the data, we have a lot of knowledge, and now we have to apply wisdom, and this is one of the steps to applying that wisdom to the issue.
How will the residents be appointed? Is there an application process?
No.
that residents go through?
No. It says it's mayoral appointee. It's a mayoral ad hoc committee. It does not go through the normal appointment process. It's not going to be a permanent standing commission, sort of like the Conservation Commission.
From a data standpoint, the one key piece of data which you're not available at present time is basically a follow-up to the academic study that basically the University of Farmington did for the first 20 years it was only. But then from that point on.
I'm sorry. An academic study of the first 20 years of Auburn zone?
Yes.
They did that?
Mhm.
They did research based on that?
Mhm.
Well, that's.
And essentially it's available and it was referred to in the consultant report. But basically the gap is that there isn't some similar type of data for the next 30 odd years, and there's been a lot of changes which have occurred, and so that there is no independent data basically on cause and effect on the various changes that occurred.
Tony, do you think some of that's addressed within the consultant's report itself?
I have no idea.
It's worth looking at. Have you read the consultant's report
Yes,
online?
I'm quite familiar with it.
There's some cause and effect. I mean, I look at it, and I'll be quite frank and honest, from a non-academic standpoint, just an observer and resident. I look at the ag zone as a significant amount, ag and resource protection, as a significant amount of protection that has stifled Auburn's growth. Could be negative, could be positive, but it has stopped our growth. Now we're going backwards. Demographics are showing that our average age is increasing and our population is decreasing. Something that makes me
It's
sound.
helpful, this is a handout I shared with the commission, and these are directly from the consultants, and it's, these are my reference notes, but basically the data is completed. And basically it refers to that particular study that.
Oh, the Meter Goldenberg. So, okay. Wait, Meter Goldenberg, 2007.
No, essentially the University of Maine Farmington, basically this was the commissioner, and then essentially,
Yeah.
and then essentially this is the study I'm referring to. Which basically gave completely objective information on the first 20 years. But we don't have similar type of data for the cause and effect since that point.
If I can make a copy of this, and I'll get it back to you soon. Look at that. I mean, this is actually the study as well, so, but I appreciate it. Any other questions? No? Easy. Okay. Jordan, you know how to get and this is great, any thoughts, observations, regardless if you're on the ad hoc committee or not, it's all gonna have public discussion in forums at each and every one of our meetings, and they're all gonna be taped, and they're all gonna be out there in public, so, feel free to reach out to anybody in the committee in the future, myself, or come and speak, and together I think we can make a really good process, so.
Thank you for
Thank you.
I think, Jim, is one other point, I think on, our definition of conservation basically has been the preservation and productive utilization. A lot of people forget productive utilization of natural assets, but we feel they go hand in hand, and that's why it's a part of our formal structure.
Thank you for including that.
And by all means, I hope this isn't the last time I visit you. I would love to talk about productive utilization of assets and marketing those assets, and how they can be used for everybody's benefit. And I think there's a lot of them, so that's great. And you can definitely use your help inside there. I will leave with one thing, as Auburn celebrates its 150th anniversary next year, our sesquicentennial, and the planning of which is really, really geared up. I would definitely encourage as much help from your committee as possible with regards to spreading the word, buying anniversary bricks for our anniversary park, formerly Little Andrew Park in New Auburn, to help celebrate that. To our, which might be right, a perfect fit. September is going to be Healthy Auburn Month, highlighting our ag economy, the farms, produce, healthy living, and so forth. It might be a great thing as well. And anything else that your commission can come up with to highlight Auburn's assets and utilization and celebrate our history, our heritage, and honor both of those would be greatly appreciated.
We
Please.
have that in our work plan, and just so you know, it's the year of the salmon.
Yes, we were thinking, I
Is
coordinated.
that
a
the
little
Chinese
bit.
zodiac calendar?
2019.
2000, right? Good.
Yes, it's something that National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration came up with. Basically an endangered species highlight of the year. So next year is Year of the Salmon. And I had coordinated with Sabrina Best a little bit. She's still the driving piece of that anniversary.
discuss it, yeah.
Yeah, I have to coordinate with her again, but I think we had talked about maybe trying to do another River Day. There was one done last year, the year before, Auburn River Day.
You want to stock the bad boy salmon?
Well, I'm not sure that they'll be able to get anywhere, but we're working on it.
We used
So-
to have salmon.
We used to have
Well, I
salmon.
read that the last time they saw salmon in the river was like 1880 something.
No.
There's a
Probably
fish
9
ladder
years ago.
in Brunswick, and we've been trying to get some grant funding to do a dam removal, Littlefield Dam.
I remember that. You actually presented that. That was early on in this tour.
Yeah, it was February, I think.
And that didn't go, correct?
No,
Was it
the
not
funding was
approved, or-
reallocated to a different, it was weird. It was in that, kind of vicious funding cycle. Things were getting shifted around, but I coordinated with someone from NOAA, Bjorn Lake, and he just sent me another smaller opportunity that might be able to do a piece of the work that we're hoping to do as a stepping stone, maybe some natural resource identification. I can email you.
Yeah, no. So,
I-
hey, let's figure you salmon back in the Andrew. That would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
You still have landlocked salmon in the Auburn, right?
That I don't know.
Yes.
Stop.
Yes.
Stopped.
Did it
I was
stop?
gonna say, I think it stopped.
Yeah,
but-
no more, no bite?
Oh, there's
There's
a
still pike in there.
Yeah, I know, I've caught some. They're monsters. No way to get rid of them, is there?
You have to chemically,
Kill everything the lake is
Yeah.
over.
Catch them and then,
They chemically just sanitize the lake of everything living and then restock.
they used to, I don't know if it's still.
Well, I know there's a lot of electro fish studies. They basically stun the fish with an electrical current. They do fish counts that way. It doesn't kill them, but I know that there's that for at least studying populations. I'm not sure if it's used in invasive species removal, but I would bet that it probably is.
Shock them, have them float to the surface, scoop them up, and then
Yeah, it just stuns them, so it doesn't kill them, but it's just enough to
kill
Net
them.
stun them, and then they go back on something.
Cool.
But yeah, I've met with Peter a couple of times to brainstorm strategies for that river project, basically. So I can.
Yeah, if you ever want to meet with the council, talk to the council, individual councilors, myself, keep them apprised, please. Do.
Perfect.
Okay, I think that's something that we were very receptive to when you presented that. It should be very,
Yeah.
so,
Yep.
well, thank you again for the work, and I'll leave you back to it.
Thank you
I'm
so
going to
much
try to
for
catch some
coming.
H-friendly meetings. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that.
does our update on the ag?
So work in progress. We are still on track, I believe, to vote in September next month for our officer roles of vice chair. Well, I guess if anyone wants to be chair, they can throw the hammer too. So yeah, chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer and/or secretary/treasurer. I don't know if people want to start throwing in nominations now so we can have a month to deliberate, or if we want to just nominate and vote.
I'd like us to have a slate available, obviously still being able to accept from the floor and public coming forward, but again, so part of our delay was so that the public knows what we're voting on, so we'd at least like to have a slate of officers. So we might start with those who are willing to serve, like being their chair will continue.
Yes, I'd be more than happy to. But I mean, others
And
can.
anyone else have an interest in chair? How about vice chair? I'd be happy to nominate anybody who's going to volunteer for vice chair.
I would like to nominate Brianna.
I'll consider it.
Okay, that's
Is that
good.
fair?
Yes, that's fair. I don't think, I mean, is it like voted that you have to do it against your will?
No.
Wow.
That's just saying.
For my credit, that's what Robert's rules and what happened. I think they
Right.
declined the
You can
nomination.
double- okay, you can
So you
decline.
can keep hers on the table until
Right.
she says it's her.
Okay. Any other nominations for vice chair?
Anybody else would like to be vice chair?
I think the work we've been doing in creating these structured roles is gonna help. It's not gonna be so overwhelming too, and
Just guidance on, well, you're doing it all by yourself.
yeah, I'll definitely be able to give pointers, and it's not something that is just gonna like step in and it's never gonna change. I'm sure there'll be a little bit of adjustments as people fill in their roles, but it'll definitely not be too daunting, I don't think.
And then somebody wanted, no, you did it both ways, secretary and treasurer being separate, and secretary and treasurer position being joint. And since we don't have money for the coming year, I'm going to encourage us to leave it the same person, whether you consider them separate positions or a single position.
Okay.
That would be my suggestion, so.
And I would suggest it separate.
Excited?
I would suggest that we keep it
Okay.
separated. Unless we can't find anybody.
Well, that's where I'm going. So we have 7 members in 4 positions.
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
The vision is at some point we will have some money, so as long as we keep the title somewhere, like secretary.
Right, and then we
And
have
the
to outline the duties, so right
And I
now
keep the
it's just.
office's position separate
Yeah.
because they never changed our ordinance.
Yeah.
I'm just suggesting that rather than try to find 2 people, that we found 1 person to do both jobs. Keep it so the offices would be separate still.
Okay.
But I'm not fussy. I mean, if somebody wants to be treasurer, great. I've done the secretary.
So keep the roles separate, but maybe just have one person do both for right now.
Yeah, that was my intention.
Yeah. Yeah, because there isn't a lot of work for a treasurer, but we're hoping
Well-
to apply for more memberships and things for, you know, different conservations.
Yep,
and-
there's a renewal.
Yeah, and keeping an eye on different events possible, we had talked about that.
I think once a year asking to have a covered conference like the Land Trust Network.
Mhm.
They have one, it was a little pricier, it was I think like $60 a person. We could request 2 people go. That could be, you know, budget line items, but I also wonder with treasurers, when we go after grants, while we won't necessarily be the ones applying for the grants, technically the city of Auburn, I'm sure there's going to need to be a lot of coordination on grant management. So I was thinking that might be involved in the treasurer's role, like making sure that we have our, you know, matching on time, and even though the city of Auburn will be actually managing that, they'll need support from us. So that's kind of what I was thinking in terms of treasurer role, but we don't really have that right now. And I agree, if keep them separate offices, 1 person for now, unless we can find 2 people. But separate offices, maybe 1 person right now.
From a grant process, if you're applying for a grant, you have to list the treasurer.
It would be the city of
It
Auburn.
would be the city of Auburn, so the city of Auburn accounting will handle
Right,
all
I
the.
realize that, they'll do the handling, but does the.
Yeah, you list the city of
Yeah,
Auburn
does-
contact,
does-
so I think Peter was the,
Is the city of Auburn then named the treasurer on an application?
Would you be our finance director?
yeah, it was,
Jill Eastman.
so I didn't get into the full-blown application when we did the grant application for the NOAAs.
Yeah, I'm
But
just
it was
thinking
just the
about-
city
about
contact
the
at that point, they
formality.
didn't ask for a treasurer yet, but I think they would have in the full application. But it would be the city of Auburn's finance.
It would be the director of finance for the city of Auburn. We don't have a treasurer called the treasurer in the city of Auburn. It's the director of finance that
Yeah,
does that.
yeah,
duty.
no, I
So they would
realize
be
that,
the
but
name, they would be.
Okay, where
Right.
it's in behalf of the city, why
Right.
the city, not only would perform the mechanical functions, but they would fulfill the legal
Yes.
position.
In fact, if you look at the canopy projects and stuff, you probably see the city of Auburn's person signing off someplace.
Mhm.
I would volunteer for the treasurer role since it's a relatively small burden for now.
And Tiz had also sent, back in the beginning of spring, there are some Maine Conservation Corps grants for trail work. So if you see any of those that come up,
Yeah.
let us know. And then I could also potentially fall under the treasurer role, but it should be pretty low. Low duties.
Well, I can say, well, not volunteer for secretary because I did it for almost 2 years. So I've done my return. I did like a year and 3 quarters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You did a great job.
Thank you, but I like your new process.
I don't know about that. You helped me a lot.
Oh, did we have that on like our Google Drive then too, where treasurer was the subcommittee's budgets?
I think I updated it, but
Yeah, the
I'm gonna make a note to
forestry.
check it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't have any volunteers for secretary right now, so I guess we'll just table that until next month. If you
Or
also
somebody
have-
can send it to you, and I would recommend that if the chair gets volunteers for any of these after thinking about it, people might not want to speak up at a meeting and think about it later, just send them and include them on a list for us to
Yep.
have next month.
Yeah, I'm absolutely fine with that. Okay. This is the next one. Okay, so that covers 4A. Next is the street tree inventory and the plantings. Do you have an update on that, on the
Sure.
plantings part?
I have spoken with David, he's almost complete on his inventory. We have ordered trees, so we spent 7,900 of the 8,000 available.
Good job.
They're gonna plant those in 2-3 weeks. Public Works crews are going to install them on Cambridge Avenue,
No.
locations that were already determined. And I have to prepare a summary to send to Jan St. Terre, so we can get reimbursed.
Perfect. Anything you need from me on that? Any signatures or anything?
I'm gonna need Dave to submit some sort of, like, his time that he's put into it, because that's our match.
Okay.
I don't think anything from you now.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you for the update. Any questions on project canopy? Okay. Next, we have the definition of work groups, subcommittees, and et cetera. There's a handout of what Ben and Marie sent to me earlier up there. If you don't have it printed already,
Oh, thank you.
thank you for getting this to us today. Take the floor.
Well, there were a couple of comments already, which I thought were great. Any others, if you've had a chance to look at it now?
I think this was awesome. I know I told you, she told you, but this to me, when it's finalized, should go to every other committee structure in Auburn. Because you really define, it really tells us how we've been doing the work. And I think it's much more successful in this process. Great
But
job.
The conversation in last month's meeting was obviously really helpful. I mean, most of this stuff came out of that, so.
Yeah, I did that, under leadership, was that champion or chairperson?
It was supposed to be champion. That was his
Yeah.
word, which I think is
In a work group, it's a
good,
champion.
because it's less formal than a chairperson. Yeah.
And on the other side, I would just use chair, I didn't know which word, to me, a chair is a person.
Sure.
I just wondered if those last two, shared thoughts with that before the next meeting, basically, need to be flushed out a little bit more. I think some of the questions that may arise, if there were answers there, the question I would have, and I like the wording on membership. I think that's the intent. But I think we need to be very careful in checking our terminology, because if anyone with interest can be a voting member, basically, it's an open invitation to some that might want to scuttle the intent of the work committee. And that's why the ad hoc committee, of course, has run into its problems.
Yeah.
And, no, I really don't have an answer to that, but I think that's
Would you
something
do it by-
that's worth giving some thought
Right.
to.
So you're talking about under subcommittees, the category membership?
No, under membership.
Right, under the-
Under work group.
Under work group.
Under membership.
Okay,
It's open with anyone with interest.
right,
And there are a lot of, the ad hoc committee basically ran into a situation where there were audience members that would qualify as having an interest, but might not be really constructive as full-time participants.
And then if you end up with 40 or 50 people, then you don't get much accomplished. So do you think maybe there should be a limited number on a work?
Well, you know, I just think there are several ways you might deal with it, but I think we maybe ought to give that a little bit of thought.
we could give
Because-
some, right.
Yeah.
I like the thoughts. On the other hand, we're talking a work group and not a structured committee. And the Ag Zone was a structured committee with its defined. It doesn't mean that all work groups have to be open, because when we establish the work group, we would establish the criteria, so we could limit the number. But we haven't had the problem of having too many people in a work group yet.
And because they're temporary.
And because they're temporary and you're trying to build enthusiasm. So if maybe a sentence, and I like your thinking about it, would be that it may be limited, the number may be limited, because I didn't forgot my copy of this, but I know I sent a couple. I want to make sure, regardless of what we do, that only Auburn residents can vote in any of these new offices. And I'm sure you're probably all surprised, but we've actually had in Auburn, on the planning, comprehensive plan, we have a significant number of loud and vocal and influential non-Auburn residents doing voting. And I think that voting should be limited. So if we invite others, it also clarifies for us on the Moose Auburn Community Forest Board, because that is a mixed group, and they take action amongst themselves that I don't have a problem with. But if it came to us, we.
Well, that's like, we voted on a couple of things that involved Lewiston, and we voted as a committee. Lewiston respects that.
Yeah.
When they present to the city of Lewiston, it's Lewiston.
Right, and so that, I would expect that, right.
And I think any of the subcommittees or work groups we've had so far, essentially everyone has, had a similar focus or a sense of direction. But there are some topics that you could run into a situation where people might have strongly divergent interests.
There also could be a situation where we might want to choose the members of a work
Right.
group because of specific expertise or where they live or, whatever.
Well, then maybe it should be appointed by a commission member. So every work group, we're gonna have at least one of us, because there are work groups.
Maybe, but I don't
Maybe.
think that's a requirement.
Right, because something like trails, that was a good one to just open to everybody who had an interest to come in and talk about it.
you know.
How would you say
But
open
other
to
ones-
anyone unless otherwise, you know, established by the Conservation
Well,
Commission?
so since we're gonna think about this, and I like your writing idea, is why don't we put incentive to bid?
Okay.
Because I think we need a process, that, because there will be some we wanna leave open-ended, and some we wanna be specific, and maybe that's our process, is that
Right.
establishing a work group, it may or may not have a limited, the commissioners may or may not appoint, you know, there may be, but let's send the process to Ben and Morris to sort of sort out, rather than try to do it here.
But also, if you establish, if you provided the work group with just the authority to establish its own rules and regulations, that might cover.
That may already
Yeah.
be in our procedure, that I
Yeah.
didn't bother to go back and see.
I
that.
actually had a thought. Is this going to be put into our policies and procedures?
I would encourage us to do it.
And that's a document that we have to update. They talked about separating out public hearings.
You know, I'm not posing with those questions as a red flag and suggesting we have to take action this evening, but I just do think it's an area that we're just deserving of some consideration.
I did make a couple other things I had the forest board, I know under examples. I think my biggest change was under definitions for membership. But again, I think it's as it was like, great, now we just need to flesh out some things. And yes, we have a policy and procedure that we don't necessarily delve into, but this could be not only as part of that, but it could be standalone in our documents.
Yep.
This is how it is, because this explains to everybody. I really like it.
But, you know, I think it establishes the framework and the objectives, but I just think from an operational standpoint, we need to flesh it out a little more.
Yeah.
So if questions come up like that, we can respond to it.
And this conversation brought up something else that could be another line, maybe that could be added to this, which is authority or voting power or something like that. Yeah, to me, a work group wouldn't really have any authority to do stuff aside from present opinions to this commission. Or,
And not necessarily type minutes. Right.
Oh, that's a good question. So minutes would be, because I did add that on my list.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was just thinking as.
or at least notes, some
Yeah.
Notes or
record.
minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe if there's any vote anyway, yeah, just.
But the subcommittees can vote and take action,
Right.
and things like that. The work groups that really, so far at least, don't.
So maybe like an operations.
Yeah, and I put that in my note to Ben, and I think I copied everybody on it if I did it successfully. I added stuff like that. That's what my add-ons are down here for, because I was gonna try to turn it, but I didn't have that. So that I could have added columns with the things. No, it was only because I was gonna be, try to add things, like voting member, and I couldn't figure out how to do it, so I'm an Excel girl that fits beyond 2 columns.
Okay, on membership work group, we could say that the membership criteria is determined at the time of establishment. So that gives the commission the ability to determine this one will open to everyone, this one we want to be more selective.
Yep.
It's a great suggestion. Okay. So any other, edits, just pass along to me? Email
Sure,
me?
I'll type up the edits that we have so far and send it around as soon as I can.
Perfect. And when this is finalized, it'll go up in the Google Mail account, the Google Drive account, which I sent access information to, so everyone got that. So you guys can access that at any time. All set to move forward? So, work in progress, so I guess this is work done. I contacted both Sue, the city clerk, and Liz Allen, communications director, updated our city website for the Conservation Commission, so we have all of our up-to-date agendas and approved minutes on the website. I can work on getting, our ordinance is already up there, but that's our original ordinance, not the one where we submitted changes. I think we should resubmit
We
that.
have all the links to Great Falls.
That was a question that I had, because when I went to do the annual report,
They're not
I
there.
know Tony's doing it, but they're not there and they need to be there.
They're up on Great Falls TV.
So they just
The
need the
city, when you
I
go
didn't know
onto the
that.
city agendas, boards, then you click on it and it'll tell you. But when you go to the website, when you actually pick Conservation Commission, there's no link
So
there.
just-
Right, we have the written minutes, I'm not sure,
But maybe they
is
could
they
do
could
it.
is
put a
there,
link.
so is there a folder where they could just have one link to the Great Falls website, like
Yeah.
for visual recordings, just go to this link folder? So they don't have to each.
Yeah, no, they do, on whoever's got it already, somebody has, one of the committees has a link to, and maybe it's the city council, that you go to their page and the link is right there, and you
Exactly.
click it, and then you just
Yeah.
get it.
And then you can have all your lists, because you
Right.
have Conservation
Right.
Commission,
I
city
think that
board
should be pretty
meetings.
easy.
Yes, I would ask that, and would imagine they could get it done, because when I went to draft this, that's where I got lost, where minutes didn't have enough information, and then I was trying to check something, and I couldn't find the
Right.
videos.
yeah.
But I can tell you, I really appreciate the way you wrote your minutes as we went on with the, the more detail, because
They're more
the,
thorough.
we had like 1 month that literally was just the action, and it was really
Yeah.
hard.
No, I
Like
like it.
impossible, because I couldn't get the video.
Yeah.
But it's time consuming.
So Forest Board, I think
We didn't meet.
Dave, no.
Well,
right.
yeah, we met on the second.
Are we
Um,
finishing work completed?
well, I was gonna say something about the city website, sorry.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So on the city website, Forest Board is a little bit sparse, Parks has nothing. I'm gonna try emailing Misty again, because I've emailed her before and not gotten a response.
And I haven't gotten a response from her. That's what's my anxiety, we're seeing these emails with, and that's unusual for her.
Yeah, I got that sense, because I mean, I emailed her back about the library and Chestnut Street thing, and I never heard back, or got an
And we did not meet, but although it's kind of things we can view communications and minute meetings and information exchange. She's got all the work, she did the lion's share of the documentation for the parks.
So I'll try and get a hold of her to get that stuff on the website, and then I think Dave Griswold and Rick are working on getting some more stuff from the Forest Board up on the website. We've added them to our agenda list, so when we send out our agendas and minutes, they just get, well, I did just Rick, so that he can then, as the president or chair of the Forest Board, spread it to the rest of the group. But, yeah, they requested that last time. So now I'm done, work in progress, unless there's any other comments or questions. Perfect. Next, work completed. We have a draft of the annual report. I did send this out last Wednesday. I apologize for not forwarding it sooner.
There's some confusion on the communication.
Yeah, I was thinking that we were all gonna review it.
And I'm sitting there waiting, because I've already added commas and punctuation.
Yeah.
But please, major things we can talk about here, but any of those little, I'm not a good editor.
Sure, sure. So content-wise, if anyone felt that things were missing or things.
I think the only thing is the forest board.
Right.
That's a huge deal right there. 'Cause
Right.
we didn't really follow that plan. It was actually Thursday that we planted the trees with the mayor and all that. And
So could we, Jordan, would it be too much trouble for you to ask Dave or the chair if they will either give us a couple paragraphs to put into this report or do their own report, and we can put a sentence in here either way, if they're gonna do their own. I knew
Yeah.
Parks documents, this was probably sufficient for their Parks report. I was just waiting as a courtesy before.
Sure, I can ask that you provide us with, I'll send them what you have here and then ask if there's any other feature.
Well, this needs to be narratively cleaned up.
Right, right,
It
right.
just, I cut and pasted it out of some minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it looks good though, it was a good start.
One edit, the first sentence
Yes.
says June 2019.
Yeah.
18.
I highlighted that too, I think we all
Okay.
saw that.
Thank you. Trying to save somebody's work for next year.
I would say content-wise for the Littlefield Dam to highlight that that's the first time the Conservation Commission's directly gone after a grant and submitted, pre-proposal to that, just because I felt like it was.
Oh, absolutely. And it's the first time that the commission has appeared before the city council.
Right.
And there's a typo now.
Yes, please.
Toe.
No.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I
that
got
one
it
highlighted
too.
too.
So going through, I'm hoping somebody's better at this than I am. I thought first paragraph at the year, paragraph 3, it would be with other community organizations to maintain
Oh,
trail
yeah.
use and maintenance for all to enjoy. It's organizations plural.
Instead of ordinance.
Until organized. Then I had down in the Littlefield Dam, comma after atmospheric administration. Second line. I took the toe out and funding 2. Yeah, and then we're going to add the first time conservation's grant and first time council appearance sentence. And then under Owen Rulings, it should have the apostrophe after years, 30 years experience. It's not a possessive. A comma after Wells Conservation Commission. He was of the Maine Association of Conservation and the Wells Conservation Commission, comma. Winterfest, so it's only 1 R. I'm going to add a logo. If anybody has pictures, just to make this more interesting, and the colored version of this is much better. But I'm going to add the 150th logo under 150.
Yeah.
Hopefully, the Forest Board will have something cute and fun. And then lots of pictures. And these pictures are really cute. I should have edited them a little tighter, but I didn't.
I have 2 more content
Good.
things.
Good.
For the Project Canopy Street Tree Inventory, I would put
What period?
plantings,
Mhm.
that we did the 8,000 of plantings.
No, but,
For Project Canopy on the 2nd page near the top.
ag zone.
It's just
not
not
okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would put that grant involved the $9,000 in plantings. That would be.
Okay.
finished. I know it did, the plantings didn't occur in this time period, but.
$9,000 planting. Expected to be completed in 2 weeks, right? So I can do it ahead.
Yep.
And then on other activities, where that first sentence there, I would just put that the event was in March of 2018.
Oh, good. I
And then maybe just adding a little blurb about Mr. King's work, kind of overseeing the agriculture measures.
Oh, yes, yes.
But I thank you so much. This is very comprehensive, and I'm sure it took a lot of work.
This is great.
It was longer than I thought it was going to be, but we'll do better in the future.
Well, I kind of like it though, because I remember our first year was like just a bulleted list and was small. I mean, we were, first year, but this just speaks volumes about the amount of this work, this commission has done, so thank you.
You're welcome. I'll make those changes, forward them to, with your permission, may I just forward them to everybody so we can get it done? So
Yep.
that we can sign off on it and.
Yep, and then the finalized version again will go up on Google Drive.
Yeah.
After Sunday.
Oh, thank you, yes.
Near the end.
I'm sorry?
Near the end, in the Parks Subcommittee section.
Yes.
The second paragraph, committee should be capitalized.
Finance committee.
And then in the Trails Work Group section, I spelled my first name.
Oh, yeah. And I had to go back and see because your name's been spelled without an E.
We're
So I
gonna
had
have
to go
pet
to
names by the
some-
time those keep
Right?
getting myself.
If anybody finds any more, please send them to me because that is a weakness of mine.
Okay, so let me pull up my notes on this. I had a meeting with Janet Key. She was really great. This was last week. She's the PR professional, and she was visiting from Texas. Oh man, where is it? I'm just gonna add this off the top of my head. So one of the first, there were basically 3 major points that I took from my conversation with her. It was great. We were there for about an hour at Starbucks. One of the things that we discussed is using the resources that we already have instead of trying to do communication on our own. So really taking advantage of like the City of Auburn's communications by being proactive and creating content that can go out at any time, whether these be factoids of things that are important to us, like did you know Auburn has this many cemeteries and National Cemetery is this day, or did you know that Auburn's recycling rate is however many % above or below the national average, stuff like that that can be generated at any time that isn't, you know, a date or an event that someone has to go to really just kind of familiarize the city of Auburn with us, and vice versa.
So-
She was amazing.
So kind of like creating a list of like fun facts, and then if it was National
Yeah.
Parks Day, we could just pull that right off the website.
Yep.
And having them in queue so that if Liz had them, Tony had them, Liz had it, they can pull it out when they need one instead of, oh my God, National Parks and Recreation Month is in July and we don't have anything ready.
And so the second major point, which is related to this, was having basically like a quarterly plan, communications plan, where we, you know, every 3 months would come up with what do we want to be saying, what do we want to be putting out there, what events do we have coming up that we want to start publicizing now. So having a semi-regular, quarterly or not quarterly, communications plan that we're working on and constantly updating. And the third major thing that I took away from that conversation, even though there's a lot, you know, a lot more details, and I'll type something up more officially because I have scrambled notes, is to identify our various types of audiences and derive 3 major, she called them anchor points, that we want to address to those different audiences. So when we're talking to city council, city staff, you know, maybe we have 3 major points that we always come back to, that we talk to them, versus the public, maybe we have 3 different points, anchor points about our group and our work that we kind of drive towards that group. So it sounds like it could be maybe a fun specialty meeting, not necessarily in addition, but where we could get some whiteboards and, or, you know, easels like that, come up with our audiences, and then from there come up with our anchor points. But basically, who's your audience and what are you trying to say to them was our last one, my last major point that I took from that conversation. So she's willing to, you know, check in and help along the way. She lives in, like I said, in Tennessee, so I don't want to be nagging her all the time, but she was amazing, and I feel like being proactive and creating a communications plan and doing, you know, what she said will really just help us not worry when we have a guest speaker and, you know, what do we have to do? We'll have it kind of spelled out, how do we tackle these communication objectives that we have, so very productive meeting. Does anyone have any like questions or suggestions along those lines?
That's awesome.
It's a great idea that we could do, because I had, until you said it, I think, oh, we did this. So the Auburn Water District established a communication plan and document a little over a year ago. It's over a year and hasn't been reviewed. But it has come up in points when we've had a challenge with the public communication, not having sufficient information to go back and say, well, this was our, you know, this is our expectation of how we may do better. But the other thing it does, when Tony was there, because I've been trained down on the water side, he was talking about finishing these. Wouldn't it be nice to have pictures of public service putting in those trees so that we can do that 1 paragraph, 3-line photograph
Right.
and that. And that's the kind of stuff that as trustees for water, when we're chatting, we'll go, oh, that's a good picture opportunity, or not good.
Right.
So, yeah, if we could just keep that on our agenda at the bottom, not necessarily to do anything, but to remind us that we're late.
And I'm not sure if that's something that we would want to assign to a role, like secretary, or if that's something that we want to assign to a whole group, like all of us to be in charge of. We can discuss that when we establish a communication plan, which, you know, we'll put on our future agendas. But yeah, it was a very informative conversation. I feel like it's going to help just engage the public with our.
I think it's a good idea with all the resources. There's some of the resources out there that you probably can use and you don't know about. If you brought up the recycling thing, do we even know the data on that? And if we get that more of the information, then there's some projects that we can work on and find out, you know.
The data was all just done and publicized in the Sun Journal. I'm sure we could all pick on
Yeah.
the list and find these answers pretty quick.
Yeah, but it might be a
Even
base for us to
one
go
day,
off.
They have, because they have, all their hazardous communication because of dams and flooding and that all stuff. They actually have all the different cities in Androscoggin, including Auburn, with all these fun facts. Keep talking.
Well, you mentioned recycling. I wish I could remember. Somebody sitting in my car, so in the last week, an Auburn resident sitting in my car, whatever, was talking about recycling in Auburn, and wish we did more. So I could give the speech from my city council side. If I'd love to do it, but cost isn't a factor in that. And so what I spent my time was the sales pitch on, oh, conservation is the right place. What we need a champion to take on and maybe do reuse, renew, and recycle. Thank you. As the work group, and whoever I was talking to said, and they need a champion. But if one comes forward, I knew we would be enthusiastic because there is a group, Camille, and I don't know her last name, but Ian probably will, was very active on Auburn's recycling committee and doing the work and doing that, pay to throw and all of that. And the bottom line is it's expensive. I know that. So where I thought this bent, this change about the reuse, reduce, and recycle would broaden the scope, take it off sort of the we need more recycling, because what we really need is better education. And so I think that's a great idea of bringing up those tidbits, which might stimulate whoever it was sitting in the car.
Right.
And if I do, I'll send a little note to you. Well, I'll send it to them, copy to you, so maybe you push whoever it was along. It was probably a nice, quiet friend of mine.
But from the standpoint of sources and factoids, I wonder if we're limiting ourselves if we say, within the group, basically, is there someone we can tap, individual, outside the group, for certain tasks, to provide,
Yeah, that's
research.
right. Thank you.
Because, we're actually limited to 7,
Right.
and,
She
I
did
almost think
mention-
there are other sources that basically could sort of bullet contribute in their particular field or that sort of thing, whether it be I know there aren't any 2 Dave Griswolds, but basically, that type of person in various fields that could provide, but at the same time, we'd have to have a link within the commission that can accept that data and record it for our use.
So I did record in my notes, thanks for jogging my memory. She did suggest, because I was like, well, I don't want to put it on the secretary because I feel like they're going to have a lot to do and I don't want to overwhelm one position. And we're all volunteers. So she recommended potentially finding an ad agency that could do, pro bono work in Auburn. And I thought that was a great idea, but I just have to check our communications stipulations with the city of Auburn and how we can take on work or have people do that stuff for us. So that's something I'll have to, do you think Liz Allen will be the best person?
She'd be the person, but if again, so she'd be the person to ask the question.
Yes.
Could we get an ad agency? Because as soon as you said it, I thought of Rink, who I don't know if Rink is still here or whether they're with advertising. And again, that we can't pay, but we can put their sponsorship in front of it. But I think what Mr. P was talking about actually is simpler than that. And maybe our post are, we're looking for this kind of stuff, like if it's National Trails Month. You got a tidbit on trails in Auburn, you've got any health issue, we could create a contact list so we could ask the hospitals or wellness centers, those kind of, but they could provide it. The other thing is to actually reach out to our counselors, because I did sewer tips because I really like sewer best. But when we raised our rates, had I continued in that capacity, I would have come up with water conservation tips every month. And there's plenty of that on there, so we could reach out to somebody and say,
It's,
but I think this idea is great, multiple people.
yes, there might be individuals that are interested, there's no reason we couldn't, maybe name a small work group that basically had an interest in, developing that for the city of Auburn or whatever, because whatever we develop is going to be an insight to really what the mayor was talking about, productive use of assets. And but we have to identify and bring those assets to the public's attention.
Yeah, I think these are all great things, and I'll type up my full set of notes so that that can be available to everyone. And then I think we should have, like I said, maybe not an entire meeting or, an additional meeting, but we should definitely take a big chunk of one meeting to kind of create these things, or at least identify how we want to go about it. But I'll make sure to type up my notes and send them around so that you guys can kind of have a.
But our next meeting could be just a response of, is that what we want to do?
Yes.
We're not planning the whole thing.
No,
Based
not
on your
exactly
notes,
right.
where
Yeah.
to go, because I added in now in this better. So we have these 3 or 4 jobs.
Yeah.
I added one, and I called it a website monitor, but it could also be communications coordinator, some kind of thing. One person, so that, again, the website disappears or comes off balance unless you look at it all the time. And I only went looking for information, I only look at it when I'm looking for information. But
Right.
if somebody's job was to, and I'm happy to volunteer for that particular, because it would force me to do it, is to every month just look at the website. But
Yeah.
that could all come together under communication, because making sure our website is current and detailed is one of our communication strategies and tools.
Yeah, I mean, the secretary and the roles that I had typed up and we talked about, I think last meeting or meeting before, the secretaries will be sending, the approved minutes every month. So hopefully it won't fall out again, because I've just kind of gotten out of cycle with that, but everything's updated now. So hopefully it'll be more of less of an all the time thing and a semi-regular.
Right.
But I'll type up those minutes, get those, or those notes, I guess, get them to you, and then we can review those for the next meeting. And like you said, kind of pick how we want to go. Thank you for arranging that, and bringing that contact to my attention. It was great meeting.
And just because it just came up to the prior meeting, they had an excellent speaker, and it was, when you type up your notes, would you please include your company's name and anything, because again, we, the city, don't pay for a lot of things, but we can at least recognize your business that's contributing along with the individual.
Yep, absolutely. I have her name. I don't know, but I'll be on her. Okay, so the subcommittee updates. Littlefield Dam. Bureau contacted me again with a smaller grant opportunity. It was $50,000. I've looked at it a little bit. I will admit right now, my life is hectic, and I really don't have the time this year, this season to do something. I want to look at it. It's September 25th, so we definitely have time. It's smaller and it could allow us to put our foot in the door. So I'm definitely open to pursuing this grant. It could maybe pay for our natural resource identification, which we would need to do anyway, and that would be something that we don't have to do for a bigger grant. So I'll look into it if this board is, just generally, commission is generally supportive of, keeping this, but it is, I'm going to try and get to it maybe this week, but thumbs up that we still want to maybe go after the smaller one.
Absolutely.
I don't know all the details, but I'll forward them along so you can look at it, but I can pretty much, we have so much of it typed up, and the last pre-proposal was so comprehensive, I think it won't be too much work getting to.
And this grant is also by NOAA, or is this by another?
This is by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, so I would have to try and get on like the city council agenda, or workshop and agenda, so.
Prior to September 26th?
25th.
Prior to September 25th, you need to be on the council. I would put that request in to hold a spot through Tony, hold a spot, and then you can always cancel it. But getting in might be a challenge.
Okay. I'll email you tomorrow. Or Thursday. So, Parks Subcommittee?
Parks did not meet last month. You're aware of the tree issues in Pettingill, and I just left the age-friendly because they've got some issues, and my point to them, and I'll put it in writing to the chair, but I haven't heard from the chair, we really need to be looking at the trees and parking at Pettingill Park. The rest of the work is, we haven't posted because we found summer was a waste of time to post meetings, so Secretary hasn't planned a meeting until it'll be in September, and Parks will probably come back as we have that. And that would be my suggestion next year, at least for those two. July and August. Okay.
Thank you very much for the update. LA Trails?
Same thing there. Summer, it's just possible.
Yep.
Then doing our procedures for committees unless they feel strongly don't meet in July.
End up feeling bad.
Right.
Right. And we already kind of got the ag zone update. Do you feel comfortable with that?
I think basically, we've got the latest
Yeah.
information tonight.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect, yes.
So are we gonna, hopefully somebody's gonna volunteer to you, Jordan, for that appointment? Or did we have somebody who was interested in the appointment on the mayor's?
Right, so we should probably.
Because you've only got 7 days.
Let's add that to new business.
Okay.
Sorry, I skipped over,
Adding a forest board, we had a special meeting on the second, which me and Jordan, neither one of us were able to make, it was the last minute.
Yeah.
And that was in regards, really, it was a 15-minute meeting to go and make that tree issue. in
Oh,
regards to-
that and the plan.
You were copied in, I think, on the minutes, but you might have just not.
I
went over
stand out
there
because I get
that
out.
next day after we talked, because even with your pictures, I wanted to go see what the heck was going on. Of course, it's little kids running all over the place. Pictures, so I took a bunch of other pictures, but
Good.
I talked to Dave too, and in regards, they did meet, Dave agrees those trees should be saved. They're beautiful trees, older trees, there's no reason why they can't utilize more parking spaces around by reconfiguring. We also both had agreed that on the back side of the Hastings Gym, there's more than enough to put another probably 6 to 8 handicaps on that side that they can use. Dave had also mentioned in our notes from the meeting that that pine tree that's over there, that spruce, is up for possible our Christmas tree for Auburn. We talked about taking that
The
down.
one in front of Hasty?
Yeah, blue
Any
spruce
way to
is
get
under
rid of it, right?
consideration for the city
Yes,
Christmas tree.
any way to get rid of it.
So the trees are 28-foot silver maple, an 8-foot, which I would venture to believe more than 8 feet apple tree. I want to say this represented that, but, and then an 18-foot blue spruce that they wanted to take down. So it wasn't really one tree, it was actually
Right.
a tree.
Which is why we were all correct in describing the tree.
Was there action that came out of that? If like Rick Shea was going to contact anyone?
They had talked to Counselor Walker before the meeting, and it appears the plan is still very informal. Counselor Walker is going to bring back the forest board's recommendations in consideration to incorporate units. This is what is in our notes.
Thank you, I'll go back and read those. I've gotten those
Yeah.
for years, so I always
Did I
skip.
attach that in the email? I can't remember, I meant to.
The meeting was on the second, so it's great. Dave's pretty good about that.
Yes,
I don't
he
think
is,
it went
yeah.
out right after.
If I have any trouble, I'll be in touch with you.
Okay.
So without putting Tony on the spot, because he probably has been told things that he might not be appropriate to share, I think that we, the Conservation Commission, need to take a position on this. And I don't mean a position, don't do it or do it, maybe a fact-finding summary about this issue of the specifics, the trees and that location. And the broader question, which is they're supposed to come in conservation before you start, or forestry, before you start taking down trees. And so I'd be glad to volunteer to put the pieces together to send to the chair so that a letter could come there before our next meeting is what the thing is. I personally am worried that, Tony Glacier, years, that the city will take one of those trees down before we had time to act. And it should at least be documented that we have concern.
If you want to send me the information, yes, I can write a letter stating, Huh?
On behalf of all.
on behalf of the Conservation Commission, stating that, we would like them to, well, I guess I'm open to other people suggesting language too. Like you said, not yes or no, but we have a concern.
Right, here's the information, we have a concern.
Trees unless there's some,
Right,
unless there's no.
We
reason
prefer
why.
that
Right.
this be a last resort
Right.
on cutting the trees, and that conservation and forest board to be addressed prior to trees, being cut. And if there are trees that, are intended to be cut, then this is first. That's
Yeah,
what I mean.
there's a
Because I-
collaborative conversation before removal.
Yes, yeah, I'll draft up
Yeah,
some
I-
of that.
The other thing is, when you do this, which will probably go to the city manager, copy the mayor, of course, copy Tony, because he's our contact person. But I would also copy Dana Staples, the chair of Parks and Recreation Advisory, and Misty Edgecombe, chair of our Parks and Rec. Because and Leroy Walker, chair of Age Friendly. Because all three of those people have had this issue come up, either parking or trees.
Okay.
And maybe we can get them engaged, and maybe we'll collaborate with us, on these types of things.
And in your fact finding, I don't know if you want to maybe reach out to Dave Griswold, because I want to say that because they're within Pettingill Park, that they're community forestry, so.
I was gonna go
And
get
that's
this.
part of our woodlot
Right.
management ordinance.
I was gonna reach out to him anyways, because he did send us, and maybe it was either from those minutes, or I know we, conservation or I, got something from Dave within like 2 days of our meeting. So, I will reach out to him too, once I sort of put the pieces together.
Yep.
And if you don't see it next Wednesday, by next Wednesday, I'm good at following you.
I think hopefully you worded carefully enough so that we don't create a situation where it appears that we're trying to micromanage management. So basically, because there are times that they will have situations come up that they have to act quickly, and I think they should be free to function without any red tape.
Oh, I agree with you, and that's why I didn't say, you notice I was careful, I don't want us to take a position unless we've all seen this document, read it, and are more forceful, but I'm concerned of delaying, so trust Jordan just presenting the facts, and that this has done it. The best part of all of this is that we're beginning to have conversations with other groups. But I would agree with you that emergency situations.
Yeah, I'll be really neutral in the language in terms of position.
Sometimes when it's not an emergency, trees have to come down, but sometimes there are choices.
Right.
Well, and what troubles me most about this is here was a conversation that's apparently been pretty extensive within the city that none of these groups knew anything about. So my concern is, because I really feel like you could walk down there one day and one of those 10 trees and not all three gone.
No, he was just saying, Dave was saying that he didn't realize that this was happening, so if,
Right.
kind of like when there was, the happenings at Mount Outside, and we reached out to the different city groups and said, if there's anything related to conservation, please let us know. I think that's just kind of what Dave was saying, like, any other stuff that's related to forest, can you let us know? As a heads up, I think is what that was, but, yeah. All right. So is that a motion?
I'll move that the chair send a letter to the city manager and other appropriate people regarding the trees and parking issue in Pettingill Park. And that I will provide her some of a draft of fact-finding information to bring it all in one place, that she can then remit to her.
All in favor? All right, so, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're in business and commissioner comments. So anything new or?
Appointing the ag zone representative, I would volunteer Maurice if he was still interested in the ag zone study, if you want to represent.
Mural ad hoc.
Is
Is
it-
it calling it ad
It's a
hoc?
mayor's ad hoc committee.
Mayor's ad hoc.
I definitely support that, but I don't know what I'm gonna.
I know.
I'm not sure. I think Jordan is very effective, but at the same time, probably she doesn't have some of the background that I've got. So I'm telling you, I'll do it if it appears to be the best thing to do. But I think let's, pending John's communication with the mayor or whatever, to see what the best role is.
We could vote.
Thank you very much. I was concerned you were going to say no, but you've got the best skills here.
You're the
You're
most
absolutely right, Jordan, do a
knowledgeable,
great
yeah.
job if she wants it, but she is getting married, and she just told us 3 times she's got a busy year. And I'm just delighted to hear you do this, so I would,
I said I respect the priority.
yeah. Yes, as a happily married man of how long?
Oh, 60 plus.
Yeah.
Wow.
In supporting the institution, right? But yes, if we could vote to just, that Mr. Keene has volunteered and the final decision will be joint this
You know,
right.
the link that's been missing in a lot of the discussion has been that there are very few within MHP that have a degree of understanding of the planning side, but also have an ag background, because a lot of the farm people just don't have the context and or the background in the planning side. And that's a link that is needed in the conversations,
Well, I appreciate your vote of confidence in me, and I mean, I know I'm busy, I would do it, but I think you know just balance more than I do about this, and that you would represent it better.
you see how it shapes up, but if it comes down to the best option for the city, we'll find out.
Should we vote on this?
I mean,
Yes,
I think we should.
I think you motion.
I motion to vote for the exit.
and then
Ad hoc, Mayor.
Okay, all in favor? Oh, that one goes.
I didn't think it opposed, did we? Did Mr. Keene oppose?
I don't know. Are you in favor?
It's in favor.
We twisted his arm like 9 times in that conversation.
That is enough for it, I have.
So, other new business.
I don't think it belongs here, other than it fits in the egg zone, but we've got everything. Tony, River Road in Auburn,
North River Road.
North River Road, you see, he knows. To me, that's the worst road in the city, and I've been spending a lot of time on it, and am convinced. And rumor has it that that's a state road, and rumor has it that it's a city road. What, if anything, can anybody do, including Conservation Commission, in regards to getting some attention to that road?
So we are currently designing the first section of it. So from Center Street out to the overpass will be a 2019 construction project.
Bam.
And depending on future funding, will continue.
Oh, wonderful. Could you, as a, put that in a note to Jordan that we did have in our, you can send to all of us, but then it's in our records, because that's great. And I'll respond to a couple of people that have brought it to me.
Sure.
That would be great. Thank you very much.
If we adjourn.
Well, okay. All in favor? Paper Cup Link says yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.